one day I was just like laying on the floor and I had an emotional breakdown. I was like, what am I doing with my life?
This is Shervin, the Thanos of YouTube who swapped infinity stones for whoop bands on his quest to discover the secrets to a healthier, better life.
You kind of do have to put in a lot of work.
But do you think that contradicts with what you're trying to do with your channel of helping creators, you know, live a more balanced life?
Is this going on the record?
After 8 years of relentlessly grinding on YouTube, he's finally taking off in the lucrative world of health and wellness, becoming a rare breed of niche creators making 6 figures a year.
But there's a whole other world out there that no one talks about.
Today, Shervin shares not only how he has optimized his life for better health, but also for YouTube success.
Welcome to the content closet.
He posts one video, boom, he grows. And I'm like, okay, I'm not the best creator. I'm not the smartest creator, but I am the most.
Welcome to Creator Confessions, comfortably uncomfortable conversations with creators on a couch-ish.
Chair today. How's it going, man?
Good, sorry we can't afford a couch. Not yet.
Are you feeling comfortable or uncomfortable on the chair?
I love this chair, so I feel very comfortable. How about you?
Amazing. Same, man.
Shervin will be answering 3 questions, one from each jar of increasing degrees of vulnerability. If Shervin chooses not to answer, there will be a very severe punishment.
So if you don't answer the question, the punishment is you will have to be whooped on the hand with a whoop.
All right.
With a whoop band.
Time to confess?
Time to confess.
So I got to pick a question?
Yes. You answer it or you get whooped.
Do you ever attach your self-worth to the views in your videos? It's a good question. I think it's very hard not to, but I try my best not to. You know, obviously you pull up YouTube Studio and you're like refreshing. And I do have like view-based goals. I think I've done a decent job at not attaching myself.
Is there something specific that you do that has helped you like not attach your worth, but still give the views, like the metrics, the importance that, you know, they deserve?
Yeah, I think it's maybe separating who I am as a person from the channel a little bit. Like, although it is kind of my name and like it's about me, but it's also a business. So it's like the views is a metric for the business success, but then me as a person is someone slightly different. Like there's more to me than just my YouTube channel. One is like defining my goals around my YouTube channel and saying views might be a goal, and then having other goals outside of YouTube that define who I am.
You were talking before, like you were mentioning balance, and in your bio it reads like, let me see if I remember this. Sharing stories about experiments
To find
more balance and happiness in life. How do you believe a balanced life for creators looks like?
That's tough. I think it's whatever you want it to be. I saw this really interesting clip of Mr. Beast, and he's like talking about Ryan Trahan. He's like, you want to be Ryan Trahan. You know, he has a balanced life. Like what he's doing is great. He's like, his content's doing well. Like he's also doing things outside of like YouTube.
Ryan has fun and Ryan's happy. Ryan's the YouTuber you want to be, man. Ryan's like,
I agree.
Mr. Beast and Jimmy, he just like loves to just work all day and all night. So I think it's just defining what your goals are and what you want out of it, because it could just be that you work all day and night, and if that's like the balance that you desire, then go for it. But if you're someone who wants, like, you know, maybe it's a family life, a personal life, maybe you have a hobby that's really interesting outside of like video creation, then creating time for that. There's a ghost. Happens every once in a while. I don't know why.
What is your view of balance right now at this stage of your career?
I would say I'm leaning more towards putting in a lot of work, like kind of the workaholic side.
I feel you, man.
Everything with intention, right? It's like, I don't want to be, you know, hustle. Like, yeah, there's that hustle culture, and I don't want to promote that. But I also do realize that when you're starting something, you're trying to build something from the ground up, like you kind of do have to put in a lot of work. Like you can't just kind of hang out, especially in the beginning. Like once the momentum is built, yeah, you can kind of like cool down a little bit. But in the very beginning, like you kind of do have to put in a lot of work.
But do you think that contradicts with what you're trying to do with your channel of helping
creators, you know, live a more balanced life?
Is this going on the record? It does a little bit. I heard this really interesting quote from like a friend. I want to be a billionaire and a good father. And like those are the 2 constraints. Like, yeah, it's easy to not be a good father and like just focus on your work and become a billionaire. But like once you add the constraint of like also being a good father, like yeah, maybe you can't spend that night working and instead you're gonna spend time with your kid. So you're kind of creating these like positive constraints. So I think in that regard, like that is important. Like for example, I still do sacrifice my sleep from time to time, but that's a big part of like being healthy is like sleeping. So I do try to focus on setting that positive constraint of like, yeah, I do want to work all day and I can't like stay up all night because like sleep is also a priority. So it's like, how can I build a successful YouTube channel and get a good night's sleep?
Going back to, you're saying that you do have this approach to look at the data. Do you ever feel like that being so data, focused ever leads you to then creating content that is actually not super true to you and what you want to make?
That's yes, 100%. Like I try to follow the 80-20 rule. Like maybe 80% of my videos are very data driven, but then 20% can be, it's what I want to make. I've been bringing on more people onto the team and it's been very scary. So I'm like, we need to make sure we're making enough money. So it's been more focused on like videos that I know will drive revenue versus like the things that might excite me on the inside. But I'm hoping that, once we find like the baseline and we feel comfortable and confident, then that will give me the opportunity to focus on those videos that are like exciting and true to my heart. One of my goals is to be a creator like for the long haul. Like longevity is very important. So like I'm not here to just make some really cool viral videos today. I'm here to make videos for the rest of my life because it's fun and I enjoy it.
So I've decided that I'm going to quit as well. I'm going to quit not putting in the work, not working hard.
That's kind of how I approach like the videos I make, how I approach the business behind it all. It's all longevity and it's all long-term thinking. And that might not mean that I'm going to be successful this year or next year or whatever that means, but it's going to set up a foundation for the next 10, 20, 30 years.
Do you think you'll be able to sustain like a really like solid fan base audience for that long? Because in general, like just looking at, YouTube is still young, but looking at the lifespan of creators now, it's hard to sustain that attention for even 5 years. I feel like even 2 years, honestly, on the platform.
I will still always be creating videos, but it might not be the best and the biggest videos. And I try to look at the creators who have been on the platform the longest and who have had some longevity, like MKBHD, like iJustine, like they're all relatively big names. So it's like, how do I learn from the people who have stayed in the game for so long and like, why have they stayed in the game? Like just figuring those pieces out so that like I can try to replicate that as much as possible.
What do you think it is that has allowed them to stay in the game for so long?
It's a lot of factors. One is probably if you're a very personality-based creator, it's hard because you have to like reinvent yourself and like to stay relevant. When your videos are about something else with like a mix of your personality, it's a little bit easier to just worry that the things you're making videos about are relevant. I think that's one piece of it. And two, maybe it's just like priorities. Like some people want to start families, they want to like raise kids and they just want more time with them. So they're just like, hey, I made my money, I grew my business, like I'm set for life. I just want to focus on that and maybe make a video here and there. So I think it's just like drive and hunger to like stay in the space is definitely a big part of it too. And there's probably other factors that I haven't been able to be aware of, but always trying to learn them. Yeah.
Okay, I would say we've gotten a lot out of this first question. So here we go.
All right,
two.
Let's do it. What do you think is your biggest weakness as a creator? Ooh. I think I'm a very adamant believer in the 80-20 rule, and I try not to be a perfectionist. And I think my biggest weakness is sometimes letting too many things slide. I just published a video yesterday. I probably could have spent more time on it to make it better and like fixing the structure. Like I have a very strict like publish every Saturday at 8 a.m. ideally deadline. Like sometimes like yesterday that I published at like 11 a.m. So it's probably just doing less and like taking things slower and enjoying the process rather than just like, let's just do this as fast as we can. If I slowed down a little bit, maybe if I was more loose on the deadlines, but then again, like that could make things worse. So I don't know. I'm a big believer in like consistency, like showing up on the platform, like then your viewers will just respect you more and like watch you more often. I think that's a big piece of success. So that's why I'm super strict. Like I've had a lot of friends create great videos like that outperform me. And then they kind of, took a break or come back in 3 months. And it's very hard to like rebuild that momentum. People kind of forget about you.
You feel like that's been one of the main factors that has helped you, especially in this last year, like really grow a lot on the platform?
I definitely think it's one of the factors because it also allows me to learn. I'm not the best creator. I'm not the smartest creator, but I am the most consistent. I don't know, I'm one of the more consistent ones. And because I can publish, then I can learn and see, all right, what happened here? And that allows me to like improve the speed of learning and hopefully make better videos in the long run.
What allows you, like, what have you noticed that are the key factors that allow you to be so consistent?
I wake up every day, I look in the mirror, and I say, "You're publishing a video this week." I think that it's a non-negotiable. Like, I think maybe it's goal setting. Like, all right, I want to grow. This is like my priority. Like telling myself that it's a priority, making it a non-negotiable, and then just showing up every week. And I've done this multiple times where I've tried to set like non-negotiable goals, like, 30-day video challenge, 90-day video challenge or something.
We're doing a 90-day competition to see who can gain the most amount of muscle. And then I did 3 months of zone 2 training for running.
For the most part, I've stuck to it, but sometimes you slip through the cracks, and being okay with that. But at the same time, just like reminding myself, like, this is it. Like, this is my job. Like, if you don't show up to work every day, you're gonna get fired.
Look in the mirror.
This might take it back a bit though, because we've established you're very consistent, but you also have this strong value of following your curiosity. Do you ever find like those two things conflict with each other when you're creating content? Like, does your curiosity take you to these big ideas of videos, but then you think, I can't complete that within like the timeline that I have? So
100%. Yes, definitely. And I've kind of created constraints around my videos a little bit in terms of like I can give myself permission to like write down these ideas. Like, I have so many ideas of things I want to do. And I'm also like, how can I do this in like 24 hours? Like, I used to have a constraint where the video had to be done in 1 day, just because that made it easier for the whole production process. But now that like we've built systems, like it's easier to do like 30-day challenges. But yeah, in the early days, like, yeah, it was just too complicated. Like, I would do a 30-day video and it would take like 6 to 8 months to get it done. I was like, we need to just like do a video that's super easy, super fast, and build the systems and the expertise to get to that level. Like, we need to earn that opportunity.
And besides like the consistency of like posting weekly, what else do you feel like have been the key things that have helped you have such a crazy rise, especially this last year?
I think it's the basics. Like, define your audience. Who are you making videos for? Make videos for them. And then, obviously be excited about what you're creating and be proud of what you're creating. And these are all exercises I've done hundreds and hundreds of times. So it's like, why hasn't it worked until now? I think I just didn't really get it. And maybe it just took me a little bit longer to really get who I was making videos for. I think it's a lot of psychology. Like, I try to imagine I'm the viewer and like I'm sitting on my computer looking at the YouTube homepage. Like, is this what they would click on? Because I'm also my own target audience, so it kind of helps in that sense. So, but it's just really important to do that, I think, yeah.
But I have a question going back to what you're saying as well of you have to be proud of what you're putting out. And we heard you say on an interview that sometimes when people ask you what you do, you just say, I work in media, and then you try to like go back to ask them what they do and kind of avoid that question. Is that something that you still do or not?
Yeah, I do. I don't know. I'm a curious person, so I want to learn about other people. And I think it just, for some reason, it feels weird to talk about myself. So I have to like really put in the work.
But so it's not because you feel like there's a negative stigma associated with being a YouTuber?
It can go both directions. That's also a piece of it too, is like people will judge you. And it could be like, they could put you on a pedestal and be like, whoa, that's so cool. Like, oh my God, like, let's stay connected. Type of thing, or they could just be like, wow, like that's really weird, like why would someone do that? So it goes both directions, and I feel like I'd rather them not judge me based on something that can be so polarizing. Like, I still don't identify as a creator. I think I'm just starting to like take that in right now, but yeah, it's a process. It's not like I woke up one day and I'm like, oh, I'm a content creator, or I'm a YouTuber. Like, it's still like a identity thing that I'm working on. Maybe it's a self-confidence thing. I don't know, it just feels weird. But at the same time, like, you do need that self-confidence and that ability to be like, yeah, I'm owning it to succeed. So I just try to find the right balance of that, I guess.
Do you feel like age plays a factor into it at all? Because for us, being a little bit older than like the average creator, none of our friends like that we grew up with in high school, college are doing this. Whereas, the younger generation, it's like that's the thing everybody wants to do, Do you feel like that comes into play at all?
In the creator world, there's a lot of people that you see on stage at these conferences, or, on Colin and Samir's podcasts. And these might be like the younger folks who are getting a ton of views, or they're doing like, they're very broad reaching creators. And that's like a portion of the world. There's a world that doesn't get any recognition. It's like the people who maybe are smaller channels but are making a living. Like, I have at least 2 friends that are creators who have like kids, like 4 kids, and they just left their job to focus on YouTube. You might have never heard of them, but they pay for their family's bills. They own homes, like, and they're able to use YouTube as like their job. Like, they're content creators, they're older than me. And that's just like a whole nother world that no one ever really sees or understands. So like, I think it's very easy to be like, oh yeah, it's YouTubers and TikTokers are all like 21 years old and they last for 2 years. But there's a whole nother world out there that no one talks about. I lean into that and I'm like, that exists. Like, sure, people don't see it, but does that really matter? Like, it doesn't matter. It's like, you gotta do what makes you happy and know that this possibility is out there. Yeah.
Oh, damn.
Welcome to New York.
There was like a bit of me like, damn, like some of these creators are like, pulling crazy views, and like there's this feeling of almost like feeling behind in life. Has that ever been something that you felt at all or not?
Definitely a little bit. When I graduated college, all my friends were all software engineers. We all got jobs, and like luckily somehow I got paid the most. Like, we all shared our salaries with each other, and like I was like, oh, I making the most, blah blah blah. Oh, it's so cool. And then after that, I quit my job, so like I was not making the most anymore. Now those guys are making way more than like when we started, like multiples over, and I'm out here like living in a 90 square foot apartment in San Francisco with like 2 other guys, like working a part-time job at a yoga studio, and my friends are like making more money in a day than I am like this entire month or this year. So it felt hard to take a step back, but I also like, if that's their goal, like great, like they should do that. My goal is different, and like the life I want to live was different, so I need to like take a step back and figure out what that path was for me. And it's like, you just have to own it. Like, sure, you can't let other people's judgments or like societal pressure change what you do with your life, because I just didn't want to be like unhappy working in a corporate job. Like, I'm not built for that, and maybe they are, and like great for them. Like, do that. I need to do what I need to do and not care what other people think.
We heard that you actually found yesterday when they had like a couple 100,000 subscribers and ended up in Nicaragua to build, was it homes with them?
Yeah.
Was there something that like by observing them you took away like so early on in your journey that was still something that as you've been creating in the years to come, like was in the back of your mind, like, yes, there is, like, this is what I've taken from them?
I think this is from them and from almost every other big creator that I've interacted with, is just like support. Like, I will never forget this, but like I brought my camera and I was like this wannabe world of like, I want to make videos, and like I made a couple of videos while I was there too. I was building a house in Amar's group, so I was like talking about the house that we're building and it wasn't built yet. He's like, you should do this. Like it was a jump cut where I was like, oh, we're gonna build a house right here, and then like boom, you snap, and then the house would appear. And he just like gave me that idea, and I was like, that's so cool. Like, he wanted to, support my video and give me ideas of like interesting, fun things to do, and I just felt very like reassured that this bigger creator was just like super supportive of like me creating content. It wasn't like, hey man, you shouldn't be filming, like this is, let's enjoy the moment or something. But he was like very supportive of that process. And I was like, wow, that was so cool. Like, I really appreciated that. And I think anytime, like, surrounding yourself with people who are trying to chase the same goal as you is so important. It just makes it that much easier. I think that's why I only hang out with other creators. But it's just like the information sharing. It's like the energy. Someone was talking about how like, on a Friday night, most people might be going out to drink or to party. And it's like, we might be in here editing because, we need to publish a video the next day. So it's that like similar wants, needs, desires, and like goals that we're chasing after. It really helps push each other to keep doing that. I did live with like people who kind of worked a corporate job. It was just like a different lifestyle. They were pulling me in a different direction versus like here, we're all running that way. And now it's like, if one person slows down, you're pulling them with you. So it just accelerates your growth because of that.
I'm really curious, like, do you notice between you 3 guys working together that you have different kind of speeds or like paces for how you work and how far you can go?
100%. I think we just have different systems and different philosophies. Like, I'm very adamant about weekly posting and, maybe not making the best videos, but good enough. Versus like Colt, on the other hand, is very adamant about making the best video ever. And like, it is amazing, right? But then he posts less often. So it's kind of like we're on these different sides of like how we operate and work, which is also a good thing, because then, especially this year when Colt started to post these really good videos, like I was posting weekly and I'm like growing. He posts one video, boom, he grows. And I'm like, okay, oops. Yes, consistency is good, and there needs to be some level of like continuous improvement in making good enough videos. So I was like, all right, I need to step up my game and be better at my videos. It's like, how can I stay consistent and try to achieve like what he's able to do as well?
Is there something else that from like either Colt or Tejas that you feel like, really changed the way that you view YouTube or you approach YouTube?
I think it's like just being more creative, maybe. It's very easy to, like, I love creating systems and processes. I'm like, all right, we're gonna create a certain format of video and we're just gonna repeat that. And then we're gonna like do that for a certain set of videos.
Yeah.
So it's like, how can I sit down and be a little more creative and like just allow myself to be like, oh, this would be an interesting idea. This would be an interesting idea. So I think going back to that slowing down piece and like allowing my creative juices to flow and not just like pumping out content like a factory.
Well, it's cool that then like you actually took these lessons and applied them to your videos, and it's paying off. One that caught my attention was the one of the caffeine.
So we're going to the most popular coffee shops in New York City to find out how much caffeine is in each coffee. Let's find out.
I was like, wow, that is so creative. Even how you're like dressed up in your lab coat and just at McDonald's with your little thing.
That's another thing too, is like I could have just went out and tested caffeine in just regular clothes. But like Colt is very good at like buying props or like random things. And I'm like, why are you wasting your money? Like you just spend $500 on Legos, or like he just bought like a $500 like go-kart thingy. And then asked all of us to buy it too. But I was like, okay, this does make sense. Like it adds to the video, it makes it more interesting. So then I was like, oh, I'll buy like a lab coat, I'll buy a doctor's thing. And like, I think it makes it more fun, right? Yeah. People talk about that. So I'm like, okay, it was worth it. You know, it was $50, $100, whatever. It makes the video, it adds a little more spice. Like have those creative moments, those little weird things.
All right, level 3.
All right, this is the hardest question. What has been the darkest moment you've experienced on your journey as a creator? I think my darkest moment was probably, I think it was like 4 or 5 years ago maybe. I was living in San Francisco. I was working part-time and I was trying to make videos and like trying to grow my YouTube channel. I was doing like 30-day like daily vlog challenges. And I was living in a 90 square foot apartment with 2 other people. So it was like a bunk bed on this side, another bed on this side. We had a window here and a sink and then the door. And then it was a shared bathroom down the hall and like a shared kitchen area. And I remember like eating top ramen and peanut butter for like lunch. I didn't have a lot of money, but I had big dreams. Like I was working at like a yoga studio. And I remember like one day I was just like laying on the floor and just like, I had an emotional breakdown. I was like, what am I doing with my life? Before that, I was working as a software engineer, like a 6-figure job, like things were great. And I like intentionally decided to go down this path instead. And I was like, I'm literally struggling for like financially, emotionally. Like I feel like I don't have a lot of friends. Like I'm in this new city and like my videos aren't performing. Like I'm posting every day. That was probably the darkest moment of my creator journey.
When you left your 6-figure job, did you think that that reality was a real possibility?
100%. I think one of my close friends that I grew up with made a joke. He's like, you're the type of guy who's either going to be a millionaire or you're going to be homeless. Like there's no middle ground. And I think that's just been like a life philosophy. Like I think I went into it anticipating that, like knowing like potentially the next 3 to 5 years were going to be very challenging, very hard, but it could set up the foundation for great things to come.
Was the thought of like maybe I should just quit and go back to my regular 9 to 5, was that a thought that you had in your mind?
It wasn't. I think it was just like, I'm putting all this work in, I'm trying so hard, but nothing is working. Like, why am I not able to figure it out? Like, am I just not smart enough? Am I not like, what's wrong with me? Why can't I do this? Or like, why can't I handle all this stress? Like I could have, but like, I was just like, I was not willing to give up. Like that was a sword I was willing to die on. Was that I was not going to go back to a corporate job.
I mean, yeah, it's paying off.
Well, I went back to a corporate job a year later, just for like a year and a half-ish, I think.
And that was because it was just you ran out of money, or?
I got offered an opportunity, and I was like, it was at the same yoga company I was working at, and they wanted me to go to their headquarters, and I felt like I could make an impact, and I felt like, why not take this opportunity? Like it might not come again, so I did it. With the intention that I was going to use my entire salary to pay for YouTube editors or whatever I needed. So I was like, all right, we'll do it for at least a year or 2.
I feel like that's such a good reminder though, like corporate jobs are always going to be there. You know, you can always go back to that if you need to. Sometimes we get stuck in this space of fear where if we commit to one thing, we'll never have a safety net ever again. Like everything goes away, and it's not the reality. Like yes, you can like go full on, but it's not gonna be the end of the world. You know, if things start getting too hard, that you do need a bit of time to say, actually, I need to change things up here. I need to make money like the rest of the world does if I'm not making it off of content creating yet.
And I think taking the risks of like, let's say you're trying to be a content creator, like you're gonna learn so much that if you put in the work, that is, like that can be applied at like a regular job. Like even now, if I wanted to, like I think from all the things that I've learned from like managing people, running a team, like the business side of it, like I'm running a marketing company in a way. So like I could go into a company and start working at a marketing job. Like I feel like I could do extremely well at that if I really wanted to. So, you know, worst case, like if this all goes away, like then I could probably start applying and show my experience of like what I've built and how we've done it. Like, you know, the metrics I've measured, like there's a lot of things that I've learned from this process that can be applicable to like a potential job.
Do you have that ambition with YouTube of like, you know, becoming really big in the space, in your like, you know, health and wellness space, becoming like the #1 player in the industry?
100%.
Okay.
I think in my world, yes. I don't need to be like the #1 YouTube creator, but I want to be the #1 in my space.
Okay.
And yeah.
Acknowledging this competitive nature in you, what if someone in your space was like just like was the Mr. Beast of your space and just had incredible resources, everything? Do you have in your head like a limit of how far you would go? Like this is your limit. Like if it gets to that point, I'm not like becoming #1 in my space is not as important as that.
I think it goes back to that quote of like, I want to be a billionaire and a good father. So that would be the limitation of like, I want to be the best YouTuber and do this forever. So it's like, yeah, maybe they're turning on the NOS in the car and their car is going way faster to win this race. But like, I need my car to work tomorrow and the day after and the day after. And like, I need to win every race. Well, at least I'm going to try to. So I think it would be like thinking 10, 20, 30 years in the future and like planning that out versus just trying to win in the next 2 years. Like sure, they might be the best for 2 years, but if they start to dip, they've officially, like I can take the lead again. Like I just need to be there longer.
Do you think that competitive, like that drive and that willingness to compete is something that's important to become a successful creator in the space?
No, I don't think so. I think because you can be like creative, like you can create art that's interesting to you and like that can allow you to be successful as well. Yeah, because if you're very competitive, it comes back to the whole data-driven piece and like looking at the numbers. But there are a ton of creators like Casey Neistat. If you look at his podcast, like he talks about how he doesn't look at the data and he kind of creates what he wants and he just be himself, be different. So I don't think that it's like exclusive and a requirement of being successful. I don't think there's a lot of requirements to being successful. People do it in so many different ways that like you can do it in your own way too.
Did you ever struggle with comparison at all with, you know, your friends back then, but also like in the creator space, like seeing other creators that are getting more views? Is that something that you struggle with at all?
Definitely. Like even when like Cole published a video and he like surpassed me in subscribers, although like subscribers is not a metric to worry about. Like I felt like, oh no, like damn, I gotta make better videos. Like I was now comparing myself against him because of purely based on subscribers. I definitely do compare myself, but I also try to remind myself like what my goals are. Like I don't want to be like the biggest creator ever. I just want to, you know, I want to, its longevity is priority #1. Having like a sustainable business and being able to run cool experiments that are curious and interesting to me, that also make a positive impact on the world. As long as I'm doing those things, like it doesn't matter the views and things like that. Like I'm not trying to be at 10 million or 20 million. Like it would be nice, but those are not the metrics I'm chasing after. So it's just a reminder of like, yeah, I'm comparing myself, but let's pause and look at what I'm chasing after and let's stay focused on that.
Amazing. I mean, I feel like I could ask you a question the whole day. Is there anything else that you wanted to like share or talk about?
People don't know what they're doing, including myself. Perspectives, thoughts, beliefs change over time. It's like even what I say today, like tomorrow it could be radically different. My desires can change, like people change, things change. So I'm always been like mindful of that. Like one day I could be like, you know, I'm done. I'm just gonna retire and move to Costa Rica. Things are always changing. Like nothing is what it is. Live your life, do it for yourself, do it for the people around you. Like don't feel like you need to do things for others unless like you want to.
But we didn't get to whoop you with the whoop.
Sorry. We can do that off camera.
Yeah, exactly.